Hi everyone, it's Gigi here and welcome to my channel. I go back with my Tonic Craft Kit number 32. This kit contains an exclusive die set to make mini albums, a project that I have already made in the last video. I leave the link at the end of this video if you like to see it. I'm not an album creator, but I love new challenges. Today, however, I go back to making cards. I will mainly try to use what the kit contains, but obviously I will have to use basic tools and other materials which in many cases are common, replaceable or can be omitted. Well, let's start right away. Since the kit contains this citrus green embellishment mousse, I'd like to share with you some techniques to create own backgrounds with this product. The first technique I show you is a smooshing background. To make it, I will use watercolor paper as it is a technique that requires a lot of water. With this rectangle die included in the kit, I'm going to die cut a panel. I'd like to point out, however, that this die is smaller than the standard card I usually use, but its measures are not proportional to the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card. To resolve this problem, I will cut the card according to my needs. After cut out the panel, with a spatula I'm gonna put a little amount of mousse on my glass mat. If you don't have this surface, you can use a craft mat such as the Ken Oliver or Ranger one, or an acetate sheet. The important thing is that you're gonna use a waterproof surface. Now I'm going to dilute the mousse with water, and with a brush or a spatula I'm going to dissolve all the little blobs, adding water if necessary. Well, I'm ready to print. I take my watercolor paper panel and I'm going to lay it on top of the lime green puddle, adding water to move the color better. In this technique it's possible to make several layers, one on top of the other, drying the current layer before applying the next one, and I proceed with the creation of layer until I get the result I like. Once I get my background, since I still have the product on my glass mat, I'm going to make some splashes here and there with a thin tip brush to add even more interest to my background. And the first background is done. For the next technique, I have already cut out a panel on 300 GSM white cardstock, slightly smaller than the standard card that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. Being a texture paste, this mousse is perfect to create a textured background, also giving a touch of shiny as it has a pearlescent finish. Therefore, I will create a simple abstract background by spreading the mousse with a spatula. If you notice, I don't spread the mousse directly on the paper, but I put it on my glass mat to mix it. Here I play a bit with my spatula, spreading smooth layers of mousse, and in some areas I'm gonna create textures by tapping with the base of the spatula or creating cuts with its edge. While I'm making my background, I'd like just to remind you that you can find all the supplies I'm using today on the description box as well as on my blog. When I'm satisfied with the result, I can say that the background is ready. As you know, I can stay away to the splashing technique, so I'm going to dilute the leftover mousse with water and gonna create drops with the fine tip brush. The third background that I'm gonna show you involves the use of this blending brush with thick and stiff bristles. The ones I'm showing you are by Nuvo. With this kind of brushes you can spread very thin layers of product. In this background I'm going to spread the mousse with crossed brush strokes. I'm going to create a sort of cross-hatch background, taking care not to pick up too much mousse with the brush. If you'd like, you can also refine the edges by creating a frame. Now, what do you think I'm going to do? Splashing, of course! And the third background is ready. For this background I'm gonna use as a base the same technique seen a little while ago, that is a cross-hatch background. Then I'm going to use the mousse slightly diluted with water as ink to stamp the little heart included in the kit. I proceed with a random stamp, creating my own pattern paper. I finish the background by adding few drops with the splashing technique again. The last technique I show you to create a background with embellishment mousses is the stencil technique. You can use any stencil that you have, but you can also create your own stencil using the dies included in the kit. To create a stencil you can use cardstock, better if it's a watercolor paper that resists more the humidity of inks and pastes. Keep in mind that this will be single-use stencil, or you can use acetate that you can clean up and use several times, or again this special sheet that I bought a few weeks ago and that I'm going to test with you for the first time. I also bought the C6 Precision plate, useful to die cut intricate dies that require more passes through the big shot to get a nicer result, especially if the plates are very old. With this plate this problem is solved. And in this case it has come in handy because this stencil sheet requires much more pressure to be cut from normal metal dies. Now that I have my homemade stencil, I can proceed to create my own background. I'm using a 300 GSM white cardstock and I'm spreading the mousse on the stencil with a spatula. And so we also did the last of the 5 background techniques created with the embellishment mousse included in the kit. We just have to turn our background into card and clean up everything. For the first card I will use the background created with the smooshing technique. On the same watercolor paper that I use for the background, I'm going to create 3 flowers using the die from the kit that cut out their shape. Of these 3 flowers, only one will end up being used in this card. That's fine. From the green glitter paper included in the kit, I have cut out a thin strip about 5 mm or 0.2 inches. Then I'm going to complete the flowers by die cutting the pink pearlescent paper from the kit with the die of the petals and with the one that cut out the shape. With the first one I get this die cut. I keep the petals in the case I wanna use them later on. With the second die I get this final die cut. I repeat the process for the other two flowers. To finish my flower, I'm going to stick the pink flowers on the top of the white base. With the liquid glue, I'm gonna stick the green glitter paper strip, helping me with the grid of my glass mat to attach it straight. And I cut off the excesses with my scissors. Here is when I decided to use only one of the 3 flowers that I made. As a sentiment, I will use a stamp from the set included in the kit that said "For someone special", which I will stamp with the VersaFine ink Onyx Black. Now I'm gonna glue the flower using some foam pad to give a nice dimension that I love to add to my card. With a hole punch, I'm gonna create a small circle on the green lime pearlescent paper of the kit to be used as the center of the flower. As a finishing touches, I will create 3 small drops with the pink Nuvo crystal drop included in the kit. I also create a frame for my panel using pink pearlescent paper. As I said at the beginning of the video, the panel cut out from the rectangle die included in the kit is not a standard size, so I marked with a pencil the point where to cut the pink paper. I don't like to waste my paper, especially if it is particular. Therefore, I cut off the center part that will be not visible on the card because it will be covered by the background panel, showing only the frame. So with my Nuvo glue, I'm gonna stick the panel on the frame. Then I'm going to stick it on the card base. Now you can see that the rectangular die is not proportional to the standard card, so I just cut out a piece of the card base. Finally, I'm gonna glue everything down and the card is finished. For the second card, I will use the abstract background, and with this die included in the kit, I'll create a tag on white cardstock. Now, in the same set you find this die that makes the hole to bind an album, but I will use it to make a perforated strip of about 7 mm or 0.3 inches, using the coral pink classic card to decorate my card. If you need a longer strip like me, simply reposition the die by aligning the holes already existing at the end of the strip. When they will align, you feel that the die doesn't move anymore. I'm using some low stick tape to hold the die in position. Using the coral pink paper again, I will create a DIY mini tag with the die from the kit that creates a panel for the center of the tag. To do this, I'm just going to create a hole using the piercing mat contained in my modeling flower shaping kit. Instead of using a ribbon, I'm going to hold the tags with a white split pin. On my own mini tag, I'm stamping just for you with the Onyx Black VersaFine ink. Then I'm going to decorate the white tag by creating a quarter flower using the pink pearlescent petals that I kept earlier, if you remember, in the previous card. Now I'm ready to stick down my focal point. For the pink coral strip, I'm just using some liquid glue. Then I'm going to chop off the excesses. Then I'm gonna fix the tags with the split pin. Therefore, I'm going to create another hole directly on the panel. Also for this panel, I will create a frame with a black cardstock, which will make the colors stand out even more. I'm gonna glue the panel on the black cardstock, and with my guillotine I'm going to trim off the paper, leaving a very thin strip all around the panel. I'm going to stick everything down on my card base, and I finish it off making some pink crystal drops here and there. And the second card is finished. For the background created with the stencil technique, I will opt for a simple graphic design. I'm gonna use one of the 3 flowers that I created for the first card, gluing it to the panel with some foam pad to give a nice dimension. Then I'm going to stick 2 strips cut out from the green glitter card and from the white Kraft card with these gorgeous rose gold foil triangles, both included in the kit. I'm gonna stick the green strip with the liquid glue, while for the white strip with triangles I'm gonna use a very thin foam tape. I chop off the excesses, and I'm going to print the sentiment using this stamp set with sentiment for every occasion. I'm using my stamping platform to be able to align the stamp over the green strip. As ink, I'm using the VersaFine Onyx Black. On black cardstock I have cut out a rectangle that will completely cover up my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 standard card. I will get for this card too a frame that will pop up the colors of the main panel even more. As a finishing touches, I apply the crystal drop to the center of the flowers. If you are wondering, I put some clips to press the paper while the glue dries. And the third card is done. I think it is my favorite. For the last card of this video, I will use the background with the crossed brush strokes. I take a white cardstock with a width of at least 5 1/2 for safety and of any length. Then I'm going to cut it out into thin strips of various sizes. After creating a bunch of these strips, for this card I will use only 6 of them. I like to have a wide choice. I divide them into 3 groups, and then I color each group with the Nuvo markers included in the kit. In doing so, I show you how to use this product, since there are no coloring stamps in the kit. First of all, I place on the glass mat a piece of low stick tape with the adhesive side facing upward and blocking it with normal adhesive tape. This will help the paper strips to stay in place. Once the group is in place, I'm gonna color those with the darkest marker of the set, and I will do the same for the other two markers. To add a touch of shiny on my card, I'm going to cut out 4 very thin strips from this beautiful green mirror card with satin finish that is included in the kit. Now I'm ready to assemble my strip composition. I pick up them randomly, but with a creative logic that I cannot explain. Once I'm happy with the placement, I'm going to stick down the lucky strips. Then I'm gonna glue the green mirror card strips at the very top and bottom edges of this banner. And I'm going to stick the other 2 strips created with the same paper slightly detached from the central banner. Finally, I'm going to cut out the excesses. As a sentiment, I'm going to use one that says Happy Birthday from this very versatile stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it with my VersaFine Onyx Black. Using a clear embossing ink, I will stamp a series of the same sentiment over the green strips. Then I'm going to heat embossing it using a clear embossing powder. In this way I will get shiny tone-on-tone details. I have cut out a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 rectangle on the green mirror card, which will create the usual finishing frame around the main panel, which is slightly smaller than the standard card. I'm going to save the center of this paper for future project with the die included in the kit. And I'm gonna glue the frame on my card base. Since the mirror card is quite thick, I'm going to stick some scrap cardstocks just to make sure that my panel is nice and even. Now I can glue the panel on the card base. As a finishing touches, I will create a few lines of drops with a metallic green crystal drop. I don't use the pink one because I'd like to leave a masculine design to the card. Of course, you can use the pink one or other decoration that you like. And the last card is finished. The video ends here. I hope that creating background with the Nuvo Embellishment Mousse inspired you to use your mousses for many projects, regardless of whether you have this kit or not. Thank you for joining with me. Leave me a lime green thumbs up if you liked the video and subscribe to share this hobby with me. See you next time, where I will create 5 more cards with this kit. Thanks again and be colorful!